Amelia Earhart.
You are live.
Amanda, what is your goal?
My goal is to work on topicalization with a verb being at the end.
What is your goal, Lauren?
My goal is also to increase topicalization with the verb at the end.
All right, take a minute. You talk to your support person about Amelia Earhart. Anything having to do with that?
She flew right. She was a pilot.
All right. Are you ready?
Hello, my name is Amelia Earhart, and as you may or may not know, I was the first female pilot. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my experience in this aviation. So I was born July 24th, 1897, and it took 10 years for me to see my first plane, which I did at a state fair, and to be honest, I was not very impressed. It just looked like a bunch of wire and wood, and I had no opinion on it, I just didn't care. – 10 years later though, when I was 20, I went to a stunt flying, like a plane stunt flying exhibition, and that's when I really got hooked on it. One of the pilots tried to scare a friend of me by flying really, really close to us, but even though my friend ducked away and got scared, I stood my ground. So a little bit of background information about me. Growing up, I was kind of a tomboy, but I really admired and respected women who were making it in a man's world. I had scrapbooks that just were articles and pictures of all these successful women. Needless to say, during that time, I faced a lot of discrimination because I was a woman, and I also had a lot of financial problems. However, after taking my first flying lesson in January, 6 months later, I bought my first plane. So I named my plane Canary because it was this bright yellow. It was secondhand, and it was just a simple little two-seater. However, I did set my first record with it. I was the first woman to fly at 14,000 feet. So one day, I was at work, and I got a phone call, and this man asked me, hey, do you want to fly the Atlantic? And I thought it was just a big joke, someone was, just messing with me. But after I got some credentials from the guy, I realized, no, it's serious. So I left, I took off in June of 1928, and 21 hours later, we had completed our mission. It was me and my co-pilot and a mechanic. And when we arrived, we were greeted with a parade, and it made headlines, and it was this huge deal. I got married to a man named George Putnam, and together he and I secretly planned my solo trip across the Atlantic, which unfortunately, as you may know, did not go very well for me. So we took off May 20th of 1932, and even though the forecast was for favorable weather conditions, it was actually strong winds and icy conditions and a lot of rain. We had mechanical problems. Everything went wrong. So also on top of that, inaccurate maps made navigation very difficult, and we had to get to this island called Howland Island, and it's very, very small. It's only about 1.5 miles wide, and then this way it's about 1 mile. But there were 2 ships on the side that had every light lit so that we could see it. So as I said, the weather conditions were not that great, and on top of that, radio between me and the ships just was not clear. They couldn't hear me, or they could hear me, but I could not hear them. At 8:45 one morning, the last thing the ships heard from me was, "We are running north and south," and we're out in the warm field, and there was nothing.